Broadcasting from the studios of WKEN, where every day it's the weekend. It's the Ken Calvert Show with your host, Ken Calvert.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the casual studios of WKEN, where every day it's the weekend. Coming up today, I have a really cool interview with a great guy, Robert Cray. Robert Cray was coming to Ann Arbor to perform, and we had a quick chat back in 1998. Robert Cray, not surprising, very mellow fellow. Robert Cray just performed at the huge 2019 New Orleans Jazz Festival with so many others. Remember, Fleetwood Mac was supposed to fill in for the Rolling Stones because Mick was having that heart surgery, and then Fleetwood Mac couldn't do it because Stevie Nicks got the flu. That particular event, the 2019 New Orleans Jazz Festival. Robert Cray, by the way, still touring. He's out tonight. He'll be in Oklahoma. So that interview is coming right up. In late 1966, Chris Hillman and Roger McGuinn wrote a great song called So You Want to Be a Rock and Roll Star. I just heard that song on the radio. After all, I am your radio daddy-o, Mr. Ken Calvert, the casual one, feeling unbelievably casual today. I was out doing errands. It was written in late 1966. It's been described by Byrds expert Tim Connors as an acerbic but good-natured swipe at the success of manufactured rock bands like the Monkees. Now, we've all just learned something, at least I did. I had no idea that song from the Byrds, So You Want to Be a Rock and Roll Star, was about the Monkees. Lyrically, it was a great song. So you want to be a rock and roll star? Then listen now to what I say. Just get an electric guitar, take some time, learn how to play. And with your hair swung right, your pants too tight, it's going to be all right. Then it's time to go downtown where the agent man won't let you down. Sell your soul to the company who are waiting there to sell plasticware, and in a week or two, if you make the charts, the girls will tear you apart. The price you paid for your riches and fame, was it all a strange game? You're a little insane. The money, the game, and the public acclaim, don't forget what you are. You're a rock and roll star. Now, I played that song a ton of times during my early career in radio. Huge fan of that song. I love it. The lyrics, well, you just heard them. They're great. Now, like everybody, I suspect a song has a time and memory stamp on it for you. When a group or a band released a new album or a CD, we're going to go there in a moment, we would head to the record store and buy it. Either buy it on vinyl or a CD, a cassette, maybe an 8-track way back in the day. Then I would head back home. If it were on vinyl, I'd drop a needle on it and listen to it from side A to side B all the way. Then I would do it all over again, then all over again. Now, I hate to sound like I'm always looking in the rearview mirror, friends, but with music, there's a legacy attached to it that provokes a memory. For decades, a trip to the record store was a blast, even when I didn't buy anything. I'm talking about when I was much younger, late grade school, early high school. It was a place to hang out and check out what was shaking in music, do a little dreaming. I'm sad that music stores are no longer. If you're in your 20s, you guys missed out because they're not coming back. Hate to tell you this, but record stores like Harmony House and Peaches, they will not return. As Kevin Bacon, I forget the name of the character in the movie Was Diner, I remember that. He used to say, "It was a smile." That meant it was cool. I get daily emails from a music service called All Access. All Access sends out several daily emails about the radio industry and the record industry. Yeah, I said the record industry. Talent hirings and firings, conventions, promotions, breaking news, bulletins at once, talent profiles, stuff like that. I've been in there a couple of times, 10 questions with Ken Calvert. I still read a lot of news about the record industry, the music industry, artist signings, earnings, executive promotions. You may see an email with a subject line like breaking news. Bobby Singer promoted to Executive VP of Promotion for Sony Music Group. With the incredible retooling of the music industry over the past 15 years, I was curious as to if and how today's record company actively search for new rock talent and how do they make money? Both parties, the record company and the artist. How does a new band, maybe your band, get signed, and once you do, are you going to be able to make a nice living and be a rock and roll star? You have to forget about the occasional new rock superstars like Greta Van Fleet. They are now what they call a unicorn. A unicorn, 1 in a million. My question is, where do the thousands of working bands that are out there catch a break, get signed, and become a rock and roll star? Over the past week or so, I've been doing a lot of homework on record companies, or should I say the music industry, and I'm still confused. For example, we all know that we no longer buy a CD. Some of us buy vinyl, but that's more of a novelty. When you want music, you probably download and sometimes pay for it through Apple's iTunes or on Amazon, or, like so many people do, you get your music for free from Spotify, Pandora, Slacker, SoundCloud, and so on. And for a fee, I'm not telling you anything you didn't already know. You get unlimited downloads, minus the commercials, and the product that they force on you. I'm sure you're aware of the fact that the auto industry is now phasing out in-dash CD players. Now instead you get USB ports. That's where we can enable our iPhones and our tablets, and that's where we now store our music. This is where it really gets interesting, I think. In 2000, there were 94.5 million physical CD shipments in the U.S. That was in 2000. In 2017, 87.7 million. Okay, so we're down 7 million. In 2018, 52 million physical albums, CDs, were sold in the U.S. And that number, friends, is never, ever going to go up. The CD has now gone the way of vinyl 8-tracks, cassettes, et al. To put the 2018 CD sales into some sort of perspective, Aerosmith alone has sold more CDs as a band than the U.S. sold in 2018. Now, God knows that bands come in all shapes and sizes, big and small, and they're not getting rich with downloads. They're moaning about it all the time. You especially see that on Twitter, and we've talked about that before on another podcast. Monster bands are furious over their take from those revenue streams. Everything I read tells me that artists would be broke if they didn't constantly tour and sell their merch at shows and then online. For some really stupid reason, I thought record companies were dying, but guess what? I was wrong. Record companies are thriving. And like I said, I've done a ton of homework on this over the past 10 days. I've done more homework on this than I did my entire run in college. And I've only just begun. Simply put, the truth is, even though technology has changed, the record labels are more important than ever before. And I'll give you 5 reasons why record labels still matter. Number 1, they make your music better. Number 2, they can perfect your PR. Number 3, they can help you with distribution. Number 4, they can help you make it big. And number 5, they can give you credibility. I've really gotten caught up in this, haven't I? I apologize. Like many of you, we all have friends. I have a bunch of friends here locally in Detroit who are out there every week playing their music. I see local artists on Facebook every day posting about their band, their merch, and their appearances. Now, I also noticed that many of those artists have a day job. They could not survive without other sources of income. I came across an article that I really hope you can find online, and I think you can, and I recommend it highly. It's titled, How Do Record Labels Make Money? We Reveal All. All right? How do record labels make money? We Reveal All. And it's written by Liam Duncan, Liamduncan, Liam Duncan. I highly recommend that you Google that and read that article. You'll unpack it, and everything will start to make a lot of sense from every angle of our discussion. I'm going to stay on this because it seems to me like I have to be missing something. I desperately need to sit down with a musician that has signed with a record company, and I want to sit down with somebody from the record company and explain to me how record companies make money and how, in fact, they can fulfill those 5 promises if I sign with a record company. I do know this. If you're in a band and you get an advance, let's say $50,000, you can take that money, maybe put it towards some better equipment, new equipment, maybe go into the studio and record, maybe hire a better producer. But I also know of that $50,000, it's called an advance, and you have to pay it back. You are not going to see a dime in revenue from streaming or from touring or whatever until you pay back that advance. That's not free money. So that's just the starting point. So you want to be a rock and roll star? Then listen now to what I say. Just get an electric guitar, then take some time and learn how to play. Don't forget what you are. You're a rock and roll star. So let's get on with the show. I'm going to take you back 21 years. Conversation with guitar great Robert Cray. Cray was performing in Ann Arbor at the Power Center. He dialed me up for a chat, and it sounded like this. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you very, very soon.
All is well?
All is well, just hanging out.
Love doing what you're doing, though.
Yeah.
Love
great.
doing what you're doing. How long you been playing guitar?
Ooh. So, Joe, over 30 years.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Remember the first time you picked up a guitar?
Well, the very first one was a little plastic one.
Yeah.
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 But,
a little nylon strings.
Little
on it.
nylon string one, yeah. Until I got a real one about a month or so afterwards.
What was it that said, this is where I want to go? I mean, what clicked?
I played like every other young kid did when the Beatles came out, and I just kept playing. And, I moved around quite a bit and found new friends to play with, so I guess that kept my interest going.
The expression garage band is obviously very popular. Did you go through a series of garage bands?
Yeah, not very many, but yeah, we did. Carport bands or garage bands.
Right. Carport, I like that.
We did a lot of rehearsing and no gigs.
Robert Cray is my guest. He'll be in town Monday night at the Power Center in Ann Arbor, part of their summer music series. If you've never seen Robert Cray, you are missing out on a great opportunity to see one of the great guitarists. You're a guy that when I think of, I naturally want to ask every player that comes on who were and still continue to be some of the inspirations. I assume guys like Buddy Guy and Hooker, and I know that you were a big Stevie Ray Vaughan fan, and who couldn't be?
Yeah, that's true. I still listen to a lot of my favorites, for inspiration, more so these days as just the soul of the people who play the music.
Yeah.
Somebody like B.B. King or to Buddy Guy, John Lee Hooker, they're just really soulful people.
What is it about a guitar and what it can do to the feeling and the emotions of a blues song? What is it?
Well, it all depends on the person that's playing the instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And what I find after having the opportunity to meet a lot of people is you find out a lot about their personality, and that's what makes the song. A person who plays from their heart and their soul. It's like they'll play their instrument like they're speaking to you.
Right.
If they play a sad song,
Yeah.
the notes are going to, coincide with that.
Robert Cray, my guest, would it be safe to say that when you do a solo in the body of any song, but maybe specifically a blues song, that solo changes every time you do it?
Yeah.
It does.
Mm-hmm. There might be some parts that might start off to get you going, but the way I like to do it is to never do it the same way twice.
Now that to those of us that don't play an instrument or maybe hack around on occasion with different instruments, that seems like a difficult thing to do. It would seem to me that you sort of get... I know that there's a groove thing that happens on the neck of a guitar.
Yep.
But as you said, every time it's different.
Every time, because, you're talking to somebody new. You're speaking to somebody new, and people change from day to day, and you should too.
Sage advice from Robert Cray.
And you know what? It's really good to put yourself out on the line, because you never know what you can come up with, and it might be a really good thing, and sometimes it may not work out at all.
It's interesting. In your bio, it mentions the fact that you're based out of the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And did a lot of your recording in the Bay Area.
Right.
But when you decided to do Sweet Potato Pie, you decided to go to Memphis and get that feel. And that turned out to be a good thing for you and the boys, right?
Yeah, we went to Memphis. We wanted to get out of the Bay Area, and then we figured we had 3 songs that required horns, and we had to work with the Memphis horns as we did once before. So.
Yeah. Well, that's not bad work, is it?
So we went down there and got into the spirit of Memphis. We had a really good time.
Do you see more people being drawn into this blues arena and the feel for what goes on with that sound? And do you like the state of music today?
Yeah, I think that it's great. I think there's probably more bands playing blues and rhythm and blues than there's probably ever been at any one time. And not only in the States, but everywhere else around the world. It's a good thing. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, because I think about the opportunity. I got to spend a good hour with B.B. King one day, and we were just chatting, and of course the lore behind Lucille, and of course all of those stories about buying a seat for an airplane and all of that, and never letting that guitar out of his sight. Is that the case with you, Robert Cray? Is there a piece? Is there an axe? Is there...
No, I'm not. No, not as personal as B.B. is with Lucille. Mm-hmm. No, mine are just good workhorses. And they go in the case and they ride with the cargo.
And you play what? What sort of a guitar?
A Fender Stratocaster.
Okay. It's still arguably probably the best guitar out there, isn't it?
Well, it all depends on what you like, but it's my favorite.
Is just for the sake of those players listening right now, action-wise, is that a quick guitar? Is it a smooth, easy bridge on that guitar?
I like it.
Yeah.
I went for it because of the easy access to the volume and tone controls.
Mm-hmm.
Being at the microphone, I couldn't handle anything more than that.
Do you still practice?
Yeah.
Do you have to practice?
I practice, but maybe not as much as in the early days.
If you hear somebody doing something and you like it, will you get all over it and figure it out?
No, I figure that's his trademark. I'll just sit in the wings and cry.
I never thought of it this way, but, there are people that make a living doing impersonations. They do voices, or they may do caricatures of the body language. Could you sit down and rip a Hooker lick for me, or even an Eddie Van Halen lick if I asked you to?
Probably not.
Yeah.
But I might get close to John Lee's voice.
Well, listen, man, I can't wait to see the boys, and Robert Cray's in town Monday night at the Power Center in Ann Arbor. You owe it to yourself to see this guy. Of course, all of the CDs available now, the access through the internet and in record stores everywhere. Get out there and see Robert Cray, one of the best there is at what he does. And thanks for picking up the phone with us today, Robert.
Thank you, Ken.
You can subscribe to the Ken Calvert Show podcast on Apple iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. It's also available by going directly to www.thekencalvertshow.com. You can reach Ken at kencalvertpodcast@gmail.com. The preceding program is the property of Ken Calvert and may not be broadcast without the written permission of Ken Calvert, unless you want your knees broken.